guided discovery. Sometimes it's important to put players in situations where they have to find solutions. They have to figure things out somewhat on their own. And that's where a sort of implicit learning takes place. They have to make adjustments. They have to find solutions. And as a coach, you're guiding that process. You're creating the exercises or the drills, or you're putting them in a tournament schedule that's challenging them and putting them in difficult situations where they're going to be forced to improve, learn, or develop without being told, without being coached. And there's going to be that sense of self-achievement that they figured it out on their own and they've solved the problem, and that's a very effective tool. Sometimes as a coach, it's more important what you don't say than what you do say in certain situations. I was very fortunate early in my career to be able to spend quite a bit of time with a person that I really think is one of the great coaches of our sport. His name was Tommy Thompson, and he worked a great deal with Harry Hopman and was one of the founders of the original Harry Hopman Tennis Academy. And he taught me a lot about how Harry Hopman operated and what he did and what he believed in. And one of the most amazing things about him was how he would create drills and he would create situations that would force players into the scenarios that they had to find solutions. He was famous for feeding the ball really fast and hard into corners and make players run and reach and stretch and have to find a solution on the stretch or figure out how to get the ball back in the court. And that was a real form, an art form of implicit learning and sort of guided discovery. And don't think for a second that there wasn't a purpose behind every feed or every ball, or why this particular player kept getting a ball sent to a certain place in the court. It was all very deliberate, but it was allowing that implicit learning, that sort of guided discovery journey for the players. And I think too often we don't allow players to be put in those situations. We're sort of trying to overcoach or overcompensate or give them the instructions, and players are waiting to receive the solution. Well, these days when you're playing matches, you're not getting the solution from the coach on the side of the court. We're not supposed to be coaching, so you better get good at figuring things out and being able to make adjustments yourself. So I think it's important that as players, you put yourselves in those positions. As coaches, we should challenge you to be put in those positions. And as parents, you should be looking at those times that your kids are challenged and there isn't maybe information or solutions or coaching, and they've got to figure it out for themselves. You've got to see that as a good thing rather than, oh, the coach isn't doing anything today. So try to look through the lens and see what's really going on, and realize that they're forcing the young players to be in a position where they have to figure some things out on their own. And good examples of sometimes where figuring things out on their own can be more effective than overcoaching or overcomplicating technique could be, here's a good example. You're a player that plays a lot on a hard court, and you hit your backhand very flat, it's very compact. You take the ball pretty early, it's very flat, very compact, it doesn't have that much depth, but on a hard court you get away with it. But as the level is going to go higher, that's not going to be quite as effective. You're going to need to better hit a little bit stronger, generate on it, maybe get a little bit more depth, be able to shape the ball sometimes. So what do? We can go through a technical process, we can overcoach, we can try to change techniques, we can try to work at hitting target areas, or we can look at a player and say, oh, they're pretty competitive. They like to win. They fight hard in their matches. Okay, let's put them in a situation that's going to force them, if they want to win, to have a little bit more of a swing on their backhand, to generate a little bit more pace and depth, to be able to maybe sometimes add a bit of spin or shape to the ball or open some space. So let's send them away and put them on a slow clay court in a challenging environment where they still want to win. And we're actually going to watch as they figure out what they need to do in order to be able to still win. They're going to make those adaptations. They're going to maybe increase the size of the swing on the backhand. They're going to maybe have a little bit more physicality to generate something through on the ball. And that process is going to be far more powerful than a coach feeding them millions of balls and over complicating technical instructions or things like that, because they'll also have that sense of feeling and that sense of achievement, like they did it themselves. Like, my backhand got so much better because I did this or I did that. And that's more powerful. That's actually what you want. That's better. And even as a player, you feel almost more satisfaction that you did it yourself than being told or shown by somebody. So I think we sometimes undervalue the sort of guided discovery process and that implicit learning that can often be used, and we can manipulate drills and situations and court speeds and tournament schedules to create that more. And for me, it's I've always believed it's something that's really important, and I think that we need to try to incorporate that in the training programs of players much more often. So I challenge you in your own training environment to put yourself in some difficult situations. As a coach, design some drills that the drill teaches the player. The drill creates the thing that you're trying to improve, and puts the players in the situation where they have to do what you want them to do without you instructing or forcing them to do it. And give it a shot, see how it goes, and see if it's a more powerful process, and the players improve at a faster rate as a result.